Hi guys, what we're going to look at in this video is the oil pump assembly in a little bit more detail. So if you're wanting to either swap yours for, say, the Hitchcock's high capacity pump, if you're just wanting a bit more peace of mind for oil delivery, or if you're just wanting to replace it, if your spindle teeth are worn, or for whatever reason, if you just want to strip it and check it and take everything out and make sure it's doing what it should be doing, then I'm just going to give you a quick overview here. So this is all new to me, of course, first time I've stripped this, although I know the rough sort of layout and what's what with it. But essentially what you've got here is your housing that the spindle sits in. The end cap is still on the rear with the plunger still in place. And that's the main feed, and that has a smaller plunger. The plunger I'm referring to is this bit here. Now the front one should have a wider plunger than the rear one, because the scavenge pump needs to move more oil, and it's got to push it right the way up that tube into the cylinder head. So the scavenge pump has a bigger piston, which is this bit here. So this is the main tube. This is where your spindle sits at the bottom, and then up at the top is where these little fellas sit. Now what happens is these rotate, they rock with the rotation of the spindle. As you can see, it's got an eccentric cam point on there, and as it rocks it pulls the piston in and out, which creates suction, so it sucks oil through and through one of these holes in the middle, and it blows it out the other as it rotates, so it transfers oil. So that's how it transfers oil. It's quite a crude system, but it works. As you can see on this face here, there's some sort of scored areas and some that are a little shiny. Really, this could do with properly lapping in. It looks like it was fitted at some point, possibly even from the factory, and not lapped in. So it could do with a little bit of lapping in just to make that a better fit and ensure better oil delivery. But for stripping, you take off, well, ideally both end caps, and you pull out the pistons and plungers here. Now when the end caps come off, they will come off with, make sure you don't lose this, if the gasket isn't stuck, it will actually spring off as you undo it. And what you've got is a little domed plunger which slots into this spring, very much like a small valve spring, like so. And that sits in this little dimple, like so. This is where your spindle bit goes at the bottom, and then this bit, the spring pushes in there, creating a good oil tight seal for this to rotate against, and that creates your pressure inside your pump housing. The actual oil spindle that spins the plungers and the discs here is very similar to, in operation and installation and removal anyway, to a camshaft from an overhead valve engine, which would typically insert from either the front or the back and slide into journals that it runs along. And you can see here the shiny bits of where it runs, where it rotates in the journals there, and you've got the eccentric cams on either end. Now you'll notice that you've got a step on the shorter portion, and the shorter portion is the front. Now it can only be pulled out of the front, so you can, as I've done here, take the front one off and then slide this out. I'm going to take the rear one off to check that anyway, but just to give you an idea, I'm trying to do this one-handed, but essentially if you can see in here, you centre that and you would slide it in like so, and obviously what you would do, I'm just sort of pushing that in, but you can see now that the teeth are there, that the quill actually rotates. Now obviously that's not in place because I can tell it's not in the plunger at the end, but I'll be taking that out anyway. But with this out, it allows me to show you in a little bit more detail the kind of damage that occurs. Now if you hang on a second, I'm going to try and get this to focus. That's the problem when you get something a bit busy in the background there, is getting focus on it. Now you see the shiny spots there, the high spots. This is where the bolt is rotated, spinning this shaft, and the shiny spots is where it's created wear. And eventually these will wear to such a point where you need to replace this, and typically you'd replace the whole lot, the plungers and everything, all in one go. But sometimes if you get a lot of sort of kicking back, backlash and that kind of thing, it can actually damage these teeth, so it's always a good idea to check them. Let's say you can do that without stripping it like this, but if you need to replace it, this is essentially how you do it. So you've got 4 little cat bolts, you undo those. This will, if the gasket isn't holding it on, the spring will push it off. So make sure you don't lose the spring in the little dome-headed plunger. That fits in the dome section there. You can then wiggle this bit out. May need a little bit of encouragement. It could be well stuck in with oil, but you wiggle that bit out and you can draw this out through the front, and then you do the same with the rear. And then refitting is a reverse. I would recommend that if you're refitting a new one, oil or put a little bit of grease ideally on the journals here and refit it, and make sure that you oil these before you fit them in, just to give that something to work with. Now what I'm going to do just here is I'm going to put the camera down and I'm going to try and demonstrate for you, if I can get this at a suitable kind of angle. I'm going to demonstrate how you would check efficient operation of these. Now this is the side that you see, that's where the spring fits that indentation there, and these you've got 4 holes, 2 in the back which actually go through into here, and this is your little plunger just here. Now to check that that's doing its job, as you can see, if I pull that it just pops straight out. It's a sort of a very vague friction fit like you'd get with a piston in a barrel. If you seal these 2 holes with your thumb or similar, press down tight on those, and then pull this plunger, you should meet distinct resistance. As you see, you've got a pop there. You can pull it out, but it requires considerably more force than if you don't cover those holes, and you should get a bit of spring back accordingly because of the vacuum created, like so, if you just sort of pull and let go. So that shows you that that's working correctly, and that's drawing and pumping oil through. You can see here your oil filter assembly, and these here which are your oil galleries, and then your sort of delivery and pickup points in the casings here. So it would suck oil through here, down into the filter, push it up through here, up through the little hole in there, goes around the quill bolt, through the little holes, through the quill bolt, into the crank, splashes around in the crank, gets thrown about. The scavenge pump, this one here, then sucks up the oil and draws it back and up through the oil way to the external pipe to the cylinder head, which then drains back down the tube that I showed you in another video in the timing case about here, which then drains back into your oil tank. So it's very simple, as you can see, and if you do need to change that, it's quite a straightforward procedure. So I hope this has been useful, and thank you for watching.